Come on, guys. It hasn't been that long since I posted a video. It's only been 2 months. Oh, we're long overdue. Hi, if you don't know who I am, I'm Destiny. I'm the creator of this cartoon called Alpha Shards, and I'm also a high school student who has way too much time on our hands. Usually I do like a progress check or something, but it's been a while since I've done that, and I finished way more scenes than you've seen in the last update video, test one, whatever. A lot of people on TikTok specifically ask me about my process since I'm using an iPad instead of a drawing tablet and what programs I use and all that. Hopefully this video clears it up, and also there's just going to be like some time lapses of the scenes that I've worked on since. Plus I'm working between episodes because there are 2 episodes that I'm working on at the same time. First things first, the app I use is Procreate, the regular drawing version. There's been some complications with my iPad, so I couldn't download the new Procreate Dreams, but that's what I've been using for the past 4 years, and it's been working fine, especially now that they have the animation feature. It's all I've been using. Now, because Procreate doesn't have lip syncing or audio, I usually use a second-party app, which would be Flip-A-Clip in some cases, but more recently ToonSquid, which is $10 in the App Store, and Procreate is $10 as well. After drawing backgrounds and animating, usually I export it into CapCut, do a voiceover or whatever for the temporary voice acting just to make sure it syncs up, and then boom, I post it on TikTok or YouTube or wherever just to show that it's done. Do that like 100 more times and you will be exactly like me. I don't use any specific super expensive good mic. I just use the one on my earphones, and I'll go to a quiet place and record my lines. That's literally all I do. And I have the 1st generation Apple Pencil, 10th generation iPad. I think that's all the specs out of the way. Now we can move on to the time lapses of the episodes that I've worked on. I meant to say scenes. Gosh. Like I mentioned before, I am working on 2 separate episodes, and this is the package. Now, I'm still debating on which one is going to come first because there is some references to the other in both episodes, but as of now, I've worked on the package more than I've worked on the other episode. And I have a feeling this is the one that's going to come out first. The blood, sweat, and tears I put into this, the amount of hours I was leaning over my iPad like a shrimp, like it made my back so bad. I should probably be talking about what's going on, huh? Well, I don't want to spoil too much, but just know that Alpha Shards does have interdimensional travel. I don't know why I struggled to say that. And that happens in this episode. This is kind of how I introduced the concept. And I know you're looking at the screen right now and you're like, oh my gosh, that does not make sense. How did he fall that way and end up that way? Just mind your business. Out of all the scenes I've made, and I can't say this one's my favorite, but I can't say it's my least favorite because I like what I did there when she lands on them softly after they all fall hard. You know, just for comedic effect. I definitely think I could have done this scene better, and I could have made it smoother if I went back to try it again, but I think the messiness kind of adds to it. Even though their anatomy and the way they fall doesn't make sense, I think that just adds to the comedic effect of the cartoon. Now, for the people who don't know animation, what was that math there? I don't remember what that was for. For the people who don't understand animation or know what I'm doing, the closer the frames are, the smoother it's going to be. Not always, but when I want some smooth movement, I'll make the frames really close and I'll draw a lot of them, and then I regret drawing a lot of them because I have to do the line art for them. Also, the brush that I'm using for the line art is a custom brush. I used it with no pressure sensitivity because I wanted clean, consistent lines. And I think for the longest time, that's the kind of brush I was looking for, and no one had it. So I made my own, and it has like 3 different presets. I'm very happy with it. You know, I have big dreams for this cartoon. I'm not really looking for fame, just more entertainment. I want this to be like the show that kids look back at and they're like, yeah, this is what I grew up on. And it messed me up. Forget that last part, disregard that. The aesthetic I'm going for is primetime Cartoon Network, you know? Those times that I would stay awake until 2 a.m. watching TV, and the cartoons actually entertained me. It feels like now a lot of industries are just trying to get something out there rather than actually putting any talent or thought into it, and I felt like I should do something. And I don't mean that I'm like the saving grace or anything, but I feel like this is what I would want my future kids to watch. This is what I would want my siblings to watch. And knowing that we all made this cartoon together, like this concept, this idea that just came from a game that my brother and I used to play when we were younger, it's crazy to think about it. And my siblings have contributed a lot to the cartoon, the production, the voice acting, the scripts. Half of the episodes are episodes that they came up with. Did I just start to get all inspirational on you? My bad. Anyways, I know that this art style may not be conventional, and that's kind of why I tried to stray away from the CalArts style. And it's also what took me so long to finally start animating, because I changed art styles so many times until I got something that I was happy with, that I felt, yeah, this is what I need to do. Something I think that kind of pulls me away from other animations is the way I shade, or just like the way I draw in general. I'm so extra. I add details that no one would see if I didn't point them out, and I waste a lot of time adding a whole bunch of extra stuff. As you can see, I use this charcoal brush for shading, and I just turned opacity down to 50%. That's how I've been doing it. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why I started it, but I love the way it looks, and I can't stop doing it. And I can't say that I've seen anyone do this before in the way that I've done it. I hope anything I'm saying makes sense, because I don't know. And believe it or not, the whole reason that I started Alpha Shards is because I wanted to get better at drawing backgrounds, because I am terrible at drawing landscapes and backgrounds and interiors. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be working on this for a couple years, so, I mean, might as well. The amount of stuff that I've learned from animating and drawing this is crazy. I've gotten confused a lot of times on what to do and how things should look. As you can see, this is me like changing multiple different times until I got the kind of animation that I wanted. I definitely think it's a lot of trial and error, and even if you mess up, you can go back and reanimate as much time as it will take. And I've reanimated a lot of scenes a lot of times, and I think that's also what's kind of taking me so long, because I'm not a perfectionist, but I kind of want it to be perfect. You know, I want it to be the quality that I know it can be. So a lot of the time I'm reanimating things, or I'm redrawing things, or I'm re-storyboarding, changing the script as I go, because I want this to be my best work. So I try not to give deadlines anymore for when the episode's going to come out. Like, there's a time, obviously, that I wanted to come out. I want it to come out in the next few months. And if I worked harder, then I probably could. But I'm not going to stress myself out and then burn out again for months and not animate for weeks and weeks and want to animate. But I'm just too over it. So I'm working at my own pace. My pace might be slow. We may not see the episode for 2 more years, 3 more years, who knows. I'm definitely hoping it's not going to be that long, because by the time I graduate next year, I want to have at least a short film out. And I've been thinking about that for a while. I've been wanting to make a short film for the episode so that we can kind of meet the characters and understand who they are and what we're getting into before I start the episode. But it's been a lot of wishy-washy. I'm trying to decide, okay, what kind of short film do I want? Oh, do I want music, or do I want lip syncing? Do I want it to be an actual animation or not? And that's what's definitely tearing me up in the end. Honestly, I'm not sure what happened to the other files, because I animated like the whole of scene 4 and 5 and 8, and I have the MP4 of it, but I don't have the Procreate file and the time lapse, so that's why I am not showing those. But I'm gonna put them at the end. Now, they don't have audio, okay, or sound effects or whatever, because I'm not done editing them, but I will put all the scenes that I've finished since scene 1 and 2 at the end of this video, so you can see the progress, because I am working. Also, the math that I was doing there is because I was kind of counting the frames, because I mouth synced it into another app, and the app has like numbers on the frames, and so I was like putting the frames for the words, for the mouth sync, whatever, so that I know what pose to put at what point for the lip syncing. I hope some of that made sense, because it made sense to me, but I don't think it made sense to anyone else. I really need to start backing up my files properly, because I kind of just save them into the file sometimes, and I don't really check if they're there or not, or what file I put them in, and then I end up losing them or accidentally deleting them. And that's not going to be good, because I need this episode to be out, and I need to be done, and I need to have it in case I need to send it to someone or something. So I probably should do better at that. Also, I mentioned that Procreate doesn't have any audio in it, and you can't have any audio. So when you see the numbers at the top, like 3, 2, 4, 6, 5, those are telling me how long to hold a frame, so that I know how long to hold it and how long I should set it to before I erase that, so that the timing is accurate. I feel like it's been a while since I've talked about the cartoon, so I might even include some of the background speed paints, because I've gotten really comfortable with this specific style of drawing backgrounds from one Skillshare video that I watched, which I'm gonna find it, but that it changed the way I've drawn backgrounds for the longest. And kind of learning how to animate the way I did has changed how long I spent, because I spent months just being super confused on how to animate and what I'm supposed to do, and there's nobody telling you like step by step this is how you animate, which is why I ended up watching other people animate and taking videos and slowing them down to see the frames and how long frames hold, and watching 1.5 million tutorials. And then one day it just like randomly clicked, and that's when I made the first scene for the cartoon with the bird. There you see, hold the frame 24 to 36. I don't even know what that means now. I can't tell you what it means, but in the moment when I'm working on it, I usually try to do a scene at a time so that I don't lose the flow of what I'm doing. And this may be impractical to a lot of people, but the way that I have the scene set up, because Procreate only allows a certain amount of frames within each file, I kind of split it up into this weird thing where it's like every time there is a background change or a perspective change, I will make a separate file for it so that I can set the background or the foreground for the entire animation and not have to keep switching them out. That also may not make sense. I am probably not doing this the right way, but this is the way I've been doing it, and it's been working. But I got tired of drawing backgrounds, and the second half of this episode doesn't have backgrounds for reasons I cannot disclose. So I'm kind of flip-flopping between drawing backgrounds, like spending an hour on a background and then animating it, and then spending no time on a background and just animating something from the second half of the episode. But now that I think about it, the second half of the episode does have backgrounds, but they're not as extensive and they're not as detailed, I would like to think. I don't know. I haven't drawn them yet, so we'll see. But I don't even know what else I was saying. Oh yeah, the in-world like shopping and stuff is crazy. I am ripping off like our real life stuff, and I'm just changing the name, so it's Amazon instead of Amazon. Isn't that smart? I know somebody's gonna pay that up, but it doesn't matter. I honestly have no idea how many scenes I have left. I do have a spreadsheet of it, so I might be able to tell soon. Anyways, next. You know, I just realized this is the first animation that I've done for this episode. I've done a lot of storyboarding for this episode. I think I storyboarded the entire episode, and I've done rough animation of 2 scenes, I think 3 actually, but this is the first actual animation that I'm doing for it, completely colored and rendered and all of that, and I am losing my mind. So this is the other episode I was talking about. Even though this one was created before the last one, I've decided that I'm going to put this either before or after, whichever one comes first. I don't know which one has more talking, but this one's probably most likely going to come after, because I have a lot of renovation to do with the script, because it's not up to standard with how I operate now. So there's going to be a lot of that, but I want to be real easy with this one, so I just like made her body a part of the foreground. I made Trey and Lexi a part of the background, and then I only animated her head, because in the original animation she's not moving her arms anyway, so who would notice? But yeah, here are the animations. This is where I assumed that people will click off the video, but if you're still here, here are the other animations that I've done since I've posted my last video, and get ready to look at some time lapses of backgrounds, because I spent hours on these backgrounds. You're gonna see them. Alright, if anyone's still here, here are the backgrounds that I've drawn, that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into. A question we're all asking right now is this video ever going to end? Sadly, it will. It has to. But I think I'm gonna just talk about these backgrounds, and that'll be it for me. So, all of these backgrounds with like the yellow walls are the main character's house. I'm still debating on how I want that to look, but for now, I just thought like, hey, this is the debut episode. This is the pilot. Things change after the pilot. The pilot is never set in stone. The entire cartoon is not set in stone. I mean, the Amazing World of Gumball, the style changed like 100 times, and no one said anything. So, I know I'm not Amazing World of Gumball style famous, but I mean, hey, the same logic applies, right? Anyways, for this background, I wanted to go for kind of a lineless look. Now, it's not that lineless because I decided in the end that I wanted to just make them colored lines so they don't take away from the characters, because all the characters are lined in black. Not sure how well that works, but this has to be my favorite outside shot that I've drawn, like full, complete exterior. I don't think I've drawn another shot like this in a while, so this is probably one of my favorites. Also, there was like, you can see there was supposed to be a stoplight there, but I just decided like, never mind, who needs a stoplight? Anyways, here's the main character's living room, and every time I think of this and I look at this, I'm just like, hey, why are their walls so low? Why is the floor so high? But I mean, if anyone questions it, I'm just going to pretend like it was intentional, which I do with a lot of the cartoon. A lot of stuff that I do sometimes are accidents, and I'm just like, oh, well, I can just say that I did that on purpose. Who's gonna notice? And someone will notice probably in the end, and I won't be able to play it off, but until that day comes, we're not gonna worry about it. Anyways, this is also one of my favorite backgrounds. This is for a different episode, but I use this background a lot because it's so simplistic that you can kind of put anything here. So this is like one of my top 5, maybe at number 5 of all of the backgrounds that I've drawn so far. And I really tried for a lineless look, you see, but I end up putting lines on it anyway. And around this time, this is around April when I drew this, I discovered like, hey, you can just put stock photos and color them a certain way, because I wanted to include some kind of 3D element, but I wasn't sure how, because I don't know how to do 3D modeling, and I'm terrible at math, so I didn't want to. But I was like, well, other people do it. Who's gonna notice? Who's gonna care? Let's just say that adds more personality or something. So I added some stock photos to the backgrounds where I want texture, because you can see I tried doing the bricks. I really did, but they didn't come out right. But I like the way they look like this better anyway. This is probably one of my favorite backgrounds strictly because of the texture. This is one that I drew as soon as I watched that Skillshare video on how to do backgrounds. I was literally following along with it to draw this background because I knew I wanted to, like, a lined style, you know, not too much to take away from the characters, but enough that you're still looking in the background and you see that some things are interesting there, like some little details. As of now, this is probably reigning as my number 2 favorite background that I've drawn, specifically because it has a lot of my favorite colors, which are like purple and green. Purple used to be my favorite color, but it's kind of in the background now. But green is like my all-time favorite, and there's a lot of green in this, which I did intentionally. Can you see I struggled with that rug? Anyways, I also learned during this time, because this whole background was kind of an experiment, even though it's for an episode. This time, I learned that you can use the textures, okay? The brushes and all this stuff that comes on Procreate, they're there for a reason, and I felt like for a long time these brushes won't match the style I'm going for, but they definitely do, and they definitely enhance it. Now, is the perspective good in this drawing? Absolutely not. I know the perspective was off even as I was drawing it. I was like, okay, this doesn't look right, but I mean, hey, it's a cartoon logic or whatever. Also, this was me drawing this same background from the outside with the door closed. I don't know why it's like we're playing the whole thing again. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, because the character has to open the door, and then there's like another separate background just like without the door, so the character can move the door when it's like not staying still. I don't know how do people explain this stuff. I just like talk. Anyways, this is when the charcoal brush quickly became one of my favorite brushes, and now I literally use it for all shading on everything. And I also use the technical pen, which is like the OG pen in the Procreate brushes. It's probably like the one that everyone starts off with before you start to kind of discover more and go out to what you want to get. And I gotta say, like, out of all of the backgrounds that I've drawn, this one probably took me the longest, because I was getting to know the brushes and how I wanted the characters to look, and all the extra details. I played around a lot with this background, trying to figure out how to use these brushes and how much personality to add to this house before it was too much. So that's why this one's probably like longer than other ones. And pretend you didn't see Ray standing there. I was trying to see if the character clashed with the background. Anyways, this is the outside for the characters, and the little flowers over there by the side you'll see by the tree. I was super excited to do those because they're so simplistic, but I feel like they add so much. Anyway, I know I did the lines. I do the perspective lines, and I never follow them. But anyway, I did the perspective lines. They help to an extent, but I kind of like how they're kind of off perspective, because it's like a really weird camera angle, like how the door right there is kind of laying up on the side, and it kind of looks like 70s retro door. That was not intentional at all, but I'm gonna keep pretending like it was, because I think it looks cool. It looks like a little retro house or something. Also, this was me like struggling. I was trying to make like stairs up to the door, but then I decided like that was too extra. Anyways, doing the bushes has to be like my favorite part. Like the trees and the bushes are like my favorite part of shading now. Anyways, this is the second background I made after watching that original Skillshare video, and as you can see, my first attempt before I made it to how I want was terrible. I hated that, and so I just like completely scrapped it. And then I did my color blocking, and I just went to town like shading and changing brushes and all that. And I was like already happy with this, because I felt like the shapes spoke enough for themselves that I didn't even have to add lines. Now I did add lines at the end anyway, because like who would I be if I didn't? I just like, I want to do the line and style so bad, but it does not resonate with me as well as it does with other people. And I think this takes the cake as the longest I've spent on a background. I'm not sure if this one took 3 hours or what, but ever since I got comfortable and I know what brushes that I want to use, and I know like exactly what to go to, I don't really spend this much time on backgrounds anymore, because it looks the same, because I already know what brushes I'm gonna use. But it irks me how the concrete is like, they're not wow, me writing notes to myself. Anyway, the concrete, like where the mailbox is and where the other side of the sidewalk is, it's literally not equal, and it irks me every time I see it. But I feel like I shouldn't change it, because it adds personality. That in the end, that's all it really comes down to, personality. I want it to tell a story. Now, maybe the story is that the construction workers don't know how to do construction, but hey, it's a story. And I decided, like, I kept trying to do like windows and stuff across the street for the house, and then I like felt that was too much and just let it be simple, because more is not always better. Now, here is another iteration of this background. Now, the reason that it's so many different perspectives is because we're following a character to the front door to deliver a package, hence the episode name, The Package. And so I'm trying to get them from certain angles going. Also, every time I look at this, I'm like, why is the perspective so bad? Why did I do it like that? So, like, as you can see, the side, like, let's not talk about it. Forget about it. And also this pink purple house across the street is supposed to be Ray's house, but yeah, I have nothing else to say. I guess that's all. Bye.